Walker Kessler returns to the lineup in the Jazz-Blazers game. Another thoroughly entertaining game. Let's talk about it.
Nice move. Clears it away to Nerkich. Draws it right back. Kick. Sensabaugh. Triple. Bang! That's a beautiful play.
That was a beautiful play.
Jazz Smack, NBA and Utah Jazz basketball.
So that was an absolutely terrific play to close out the first quarter where Walt went backdoor, received the pass from Nerkich. Then he drove into the paint underneath the basket, found Brice on the wing. Brice makes the three. Perfectly executed plays, good passing. I mean, I love when the ball breaks the paint. And Walt is actually really good at that, in actually breaking the paint before he does the kick out to the wings for the threes. And he did that in this instance. Absolutely spectacular play. In this, it's nice having Walker back on the team, playing the game. I mean, this is the first preseason game that he's played. And one of the focuses I want to talk about in this instance, in this particular episode of Jazz Smack, is what we can expect from Walker so far in how he performs on offense this coming season compared to how he's played in the previous seasons. Now, I think there is an opportunity for Walker to expand his game, not only in maybe in a little bit better scoring, but also in the assists. And I think this is one thing that Nerkich can help him improve, is passing the ball not only from the top of the key, but just all over the court. And Walker has become a little bit better passer since he arrived with the Jazz in his rookie year. But I think there's still more opportunity for him to expand and help the team on the offensive end. But again, thoroughly entertaining game against the Blazers. And I thought it was, much different than that last game in the Delta Center. This again was more like the first two games, and it was really entertaining to watch the guys play. What do you think?
Well, I felt the same. I mean, I thought there were some very interesting performances, but let's kind of delve into Walker because, it's very interesting. And I had very mixed emotions about Walker throughout the game. Like, how do you feel? Like you asked this question, what do you think Walker's offensive role is this season? And what do you think he's capable of? What do you think what is your answer to that? Like, how do you analyze it? Because I felt like there was very mixed messages in this game today, and I was going to like a commentary about that and about Rudy Gobert and about Whiteside and some of these other guys that we see warming up before the game, and then actually what they do in the game.
Well, let's look at Walker's stat line for his career thus far with the Utah Jazz. So here are Walker's numbers. As you can see here, his minutes per game. His first 2 years, they were 23. They jumped up last season to 30. His points went from his rookie season 9.2. They dipped to 8.1 that second year. Then last year, they went up to 11.1. His field goal attempts, 5.6 the first year, 5.5 second year. Last year, 7.2. And those field goal attempts kind of align with his increased minutes. So it's not like he's getting a whole much more opportunities in the minutes he's playing. It's more like he's getting the same number of opportunities, but just he's playing more minutes. But the field goal percentage have been good every year, and I foresee that to continue. His 3-point percentage, the more three-pointers he shot over his previous 3 seasons, the worse his three-point percentage has become. And I don't foresee that changing. The free throw percentage, 52% last year. I think that he can get it back up to 60 at least. I think that's a possibility. He shot 60 in that, shot 60% from the free throw line that second year, and I think Walker can get back there. The rebounding, 12.2 last year, I expected roughly the similar if he gets 30 minutes a game, which I expect him. He will get 30 minutes a game. I think the rebound will be about the same. Those assist numbers. So 0.9 first year, 0.9 the second year, third year, last year, 1.7. And this is where, in my opinion, I think that he can get to 2. Even if he only plays 30 minutes a game, I think he can get to 2 or above 2, somewhere in the 2s, which would help. I think that'll help the offense. I think he can draw some things from what Nerkich does and see what Nerkich does, and I think that he can improve with that. We saw that tonight. Tonight he had 8 assists. Awesome number. I doubt that Walker's ever had 8 assists in any game since maybe high school. You know, he certainly never had 8 assists with the Jazz before, and I seriously doubt that he had 8 assists in a game at Auburn or had 8 assists in a game when he played at Carolina. So those are the ways that I think that he can improve. I think that he can improve a little bit on the points per game of 11.1, but not a huge amount. I don't think he's going to get a lot of opportunities. I think mostly it's going to be drop-off dunks, lobs, and then offensive putbacks. I think those are going to be his main opportunities now. I think Hardy will probably allow him to shoot a 3 here and there this year, but I don't foresee that as a great play. And the opportunistic things like the move that he did with Klingon, I think those are going to be few and far between as well. So I don't foresee him being allowed to have an expanded offensive game this year other than possibly the assists. I think his numbers are otherwise offensively are going to improve very little.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look at his blocks, though. His blocks are 2.4, 2.4, 2.3. How many NBA players last year had more than 2 blocks a game? I mean, Wemby and Walker, I think, is probably the only 2. Maybe there was another one that got to 2.1, but it would be 3 at most, right? There were 2 blocks today that Klingon had on Walker beginning in the game where Walker tried to go back up with some awkward shot and got it blocked. It was the easiest block that Klingon had. Any 7-footer would have blocked that. He did another one where he tried to do a turnaround and he got blocked like badly. And those were like the 2 plays that I looked at initially before he started to have some good plays to say, like, look, we saw the guy in the Atlanta, like with the Atlanta trainer with, you know, who was he with? He was with Isaiah Collier and he was with Ace. And they were down there working with the trainer, and Ace and Walker was shooting these 3-pointers, knocking him down left and right. We saw him like in his YouTube clips. He looked really good. It's very, very different in shooting around and playing in games, because we've seen one player after another of like this. You see him in shoot-arounds, you're like, wow, why can't that guy score in the game, right? It is so different to take it from what they're doing in an open gym without pressure to where you got these great athletes that are long with tremendous athletic ability and scout you and be able to do it. I honestly think his 3-point percentage could go up to 30% this year. But even if he's at 30%, he shouldn't be shooting, right? I mean, that's what we were always saying about Clarkson with his 32, 31%. You shouldn't be shooting. You're a negative at that level. So I think his 3-point shooting will go up. But those other moves that you and I hoped that Walker would develop, he got the spin move that was good. He's great around the basket. He's got great hands, like going under the rim, et cetera, and scoring, tipping balls in. He's fantastic at that. I think he's improved like an underhanded layup. But I think those other moves, like jump hook, et cetera, little turnaround, I'm not sure he's there yet. And those are the ones that I think could really like add a couple of points to his game and make him more valuable, as well as being able to knock down an occasional 3-pointer, because I think that's an asset. I mean, you saw Klingon go out and shoot one. I think that any player being able to stretch out and at least make other teams honest is good. It's just that I don't think Walker is going to be at like ever the 36% plus 3-point shooter, and I don't think he's there yet.
No, I don't either. And I would still prefer him to be able to knock down a 15-footer before he's knocking down a 3, just to keep the offense honest. And I think he's more capable of doing that this season than he is doing the turnaround jump shots or the jump hooks or anything like that. I don't think he's there yet on any of those moves. The problem with the NBA is there's so little practice time, that your comfort level needs to improve in game. And it's just really hard to foresee Walker getting the opportunities in game to improve and feel more comfortable doing those things. And there's going to be some more failure before he actually improves. And it's kind of a mismatch of where his opportunities are going to come from and being able to improve because his comfort level improves. So again, I don't foresee his numbers improving a whole lot scoring the basketball this season. I think they can improve slightly on the very margin, but not a lot of differential. Defensively, I think Walker's still going to be a monster. I think he'll come in number 2 to Wemby in block shots per game, and I think that'll still be his focus. And unfortunately for Walker, there's just not going to be opportunities for him to expand his offense a lot this season. That's the reality.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also think, like you pointed this out about his box score tonight, notwithstanding, those 2 plays that I, mentioned early in the game. I mean, he was 6 from 9 from the field, 1 for 1 from the 3-point line, 1 for 2 from the free throw line. He's got to improve that. 10 rebounds, 5 of them offensive. Who else in the NBA can do that? 8 assists, which, as you said, Walker's probably never had that. 2 steals, 2 blocks, plus 11. I mean, that's an unbelievable box score, right? In the minutes that he had in 25 minutes a game, that's an unbelievable box score. We don't need Walker scoring 20 points. I do think if he wants the $30 million a year contract, he's going to have to score. Like, I think that's part of it, is he's going to have to score. But I don't think we as fans need him to do that. And I think fitting in on a team with a lot of guys that want to take shots, we don't need him to do that. But, I want to see if he actually can beat the 12 rebounds a game. I think he can. Like, I think if he plays consistently every game, he's motivated, he's working for a contract, remember, because he hasn't signed yet. I think he can beat the 12 rebounds a game. Is he going to block more shots than Wemby? Of course not. I mean, how can you compete with that guy as long as he is? I mean, he just has an advantage no other player has. But I think he'll beat his blocks a game. I could see Walker. Remember, the mailman got up to almost 80% from the free throw line. Mm-hmm. I can see Walker improving that. Now, will he get to 80%? I don't know. But there's no reason that he's a 50% free throw shooter. And you said 60%. I think he should be targeting a minimum of 70%. Whether he gets that this year or not, who knows? But there's no reason why Walker can't shoot a 70% from the free throw line.
Yeah, I agree. I think he should be targeting that. I just don't foresee that this year. I see it realistic for this year getting to 60% and then continue to build on that in subsequent years. This year, I think 70% is unrealistic for Walker this year. He hasn't looked comfortable at all from the free throw line in the previous 3 seasons. I mean, if he can get back in the 60s, I think that's a huge win for the Jazz just to get back to that point. And then he can build on that, during the summer and whatnot, and get better at that. So that's how I foresee it. So let's take a look at what he did on that spin move with that we're talking about tonight, because this was absolutely a terrific move.
Into Walker. Puts that floor on the deck, spins. Beautiful move inside. And that is impressive.
And let's look at one more where Brice drove the lane and dumped it off to Walker for the dunk.
Blocked out of the play. Just made that bucket for Portland easier.
Here sends the ball around the screen of Walker. Stop and go, dribble drive, inside, dumps it down low, beautifully done. That's what they want Brice to do. He's a scorer, yes, but all.
So those are both plays, not so much the spin move. I mean, doing that spin move on Klingon is a lot different than doing that spin move on a whole bunch of other centers in the league. Quite frankly, Klingon is one of the guys in the league that Walker definitely has quicker feet. And so you get him out on the perimeter at the top of the key, you do a couple dribbles, he spun, and it was a nice move. It was smooth. He looked comfortable doing it, but the lane was wide open, and he's able to complete that play. But again, those opportunities, during the regular season, going to be few and far between because he's not going to be playing against Donovan Clingan every night that has the foot speed of Donovan Clingan. Donovan Clingan is a terrific defender, not so much at the top of the key.
Yeah, that's true. I like Donovan Clingan, but I'm really still kind of baffled why they drafted Yang Hansen. Now he's looked good, right? But what do you do with both of those guys?
Yeah.
I don't really get it. Like, and I think the question when they drafted him, not necessarily with the position they drafted him, is like, why are you drafting him, right? Like, it's really odd. You wonder if they don't believe in Clingan. If that's like the issue, like, because otherwise I don't really get it unless you're really planning to play both of those guys at the same time. And you still got that guy from Boston that never plays, right? That when he does, Robert Williams, when he does play, he's decent. He just never plays. You feel bad for the kid, but he never plays. So yeah, those moves were great. I mean, that spin move. I mean, let's face it. It looked really good. He couldn't have done that, a year ago or 2 years ago. So it's improving, and he's still a young guy. So, let's keep pushing for him. But I also think we have to be realistic in our expectations, like you said. And there's only so much we can expect from Walker this year. I worry, like you made this comment about shots, number of shots that he has. The other guy I'm worried about the number of shots he gets is Flip. With a team of Sensabaugh, Lauri, Ace, how many shots do you think Flip is going to get when his biggest skill is scoring the basketball? And it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of how he flips in, how he fits in, because, there's just only one basketball, and you got to find guys that play different roles. And that's where Walker is really good, right? He plays a role that he doesn't need the ball. But some of these other guys that are primary scorers, it'll be interesting to see how many shots they get when Lauri is going to be the main focus. And how many did Keyonte put up? Keyonte now
he was 7 for 11.
He likes to shoot the ball.
He was 7 for 11.
Not terrible. Yeah, he shot the ball well. I mean, and he had an amazing shot at the free throw line extended where he was at the end of the shot clock. I mean, that was a fantastic shot. I mean, he just went up and dropped it down under pressure in the first quarter. So that was great, but he still hasn't put up his 25 shots, right? 11 is still manageable.
Yeah. I thought the shot distribution tonight was actually reasonably good. Like they shared the ball. There weren't any huge numbers in terms of shot attempts. Keyonte had the most, but he was making shots tonight. Thurl said during the game he made a mistake. He looked at the stat line, and I think he saw Svi's assist numbers, and he attributed those to Keyonte, where he said he had 4 assists and he's run the team really well too. Well, at halftime, Keyonte had 1 assist. In the second half, he also got 1 assist, so he ended with 2 assists. So Thurl just got that. He blew that. Or he just read he glanced at the stat sheet, and he just got it wrong. But we know that's about Keyonte. Keyonte's not a point guard. We've always said that he shouldn't be the starting point guard, in my opinion. I think it's not in the best interest of the Jazz to have Keyonte as a starting point guard. So I hope the lineups are shifted and somewhat different than what we've seen in the preseason thus far with Keyonte starting every game and basically playing the point guard from the tip-off. So I hope that changes.
Well, if before this game or before any game, you were just, I were to ask you, who are going to be the 2 leading assist players on the Jazz in this ball game, would you have ever selected Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler?
No, of course
not.
No.
I mean, and will this ever happen again this season? Like, I don't think it'll ever happen. Like, I hope this is a trend of what we're going to get, because that's a great expansion of both those guys. But really, outside of those 2, the assist numbers are pretty sad tonight. Yeah,
it's. I would actually be shocked if we start running offense through those two guys. I mean, that would be a complete shift in the way the Jazz run offense if we start using more of like Lauri and Walker to run offense. I don't foresee that happening either. Again, this is the preseason. Hardy's playing with stuff. it's not going to, quite frankly, I think it's going to be a lot of what we've seen the previous 3 years once we get to the regular season. I don't see a lot of difference happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. There was one play I want to highlight. Nerkich in either the third or fourth quarter, Taylor cut to the basket from the right-hand side. There was a slip pass through that was just beautiful, and Taylor had a dunk. I mean, we all hammered on Nerkich coming into the, like the trade against Solid Collins Sexton because we thought Collins great, and I do think Collins great. But Nerkich has really shown some real skills. And, I had no idea he could throw that pass. I remember when he was on Portland, he was good. Nerkich was a really good basketball player. And I think we've all forgotten that because he went to Phoenix, they wanted to dump him. He went to Charlotte, they wanted to dump him. And now he's come here, and he hasn't played a ton of defense, but he has some real skills. And I've been quite impressed with him.
Well, he was with Jokic in Denver. So both those guys were on the Nuggets, and if there's something that can rub off on Nerkich playing with Jokic, obviously running offense with the ball in your hands is one of those things. So I'm kind of hoping the same thing Nerkich can rub off on Walker, because if Walker could pick that up and be able to run offense with his hand through him, boy, that would make Walker so much more valuable of a player. I mean, Walker is already valuable. He's still, at this point, he's my favorite player on the Jazz. But he could become a whole lot better if you could run offense through him at times up at the top and have him direct that offense. And that would be a very, very valuable asset.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other guy I was going to say or two other guys, is we had it with Kelly, and it didn't rub off, but we needed to rub off on Lauri, right? Yeah. I mean, Lauri becomes a lot more valuable if he gets more than one assist a game, right? Yeah. The 1 to 2 assist a games is not enough. We also needed to rub off on Taylor because Taylor's just developing himself. He's really a second-year player right now. He's got an amazing physique and athletic ability. He can hit a three-point shot, as you said, but he's got to develop the other parts of his game. And passing is one of them, where you want him to develop it. So, I'm really mixed on Nerkich. Is like, if you get an offer at the trade deadline, you're trying to accumulate assets. But at the same time, if he's, like teaching some of our bigger guys those aspects of the game, he should hang around. Right, because that's more valuable long term for those skills to be developed in those guys. And Walker obviously is the first one that hopefully he can develop that.
Yeah, I don't think the Jazz will get a good enough offer for Nerkich to if he's serving a purpose in practice, especially. I don't think they're going to get a good enough offer for him to move him along. I think he'll end the year with the Jazz, and then he'll be on his way after that. But right now, I don't foresee him, because he struggled so much in his previous 2 stops. I think that's going to prevent anybody making any sort of significant. I mean, the Jazz didn't get a great offer for John Collins, and John Collins right now is playing really well for the Clippers from what I've seen in preseason. And John Collins is a good basketball player, and everybody, and I think most people know it. They just didn't want to, make a mistake. A GM is really worried about, how that makes him look. And that's the same thing with Nerkich right now. So I don't think he has any trade value personally.
Yeah. I agree with that. One comment on Collins. They have Collins coming off the bench, don't they? The Clippers.
Yeah. Yep.
What are they thinking? I mean, who do they have starting over? Like, John Collins can play basketball. John Collins is a good basketball player. Like, who's starting over John Collins?
I don't recall, but yeah, he's in the second lineup. He's playing with like Chris Paul and stuff coming off the bench. So
it's not a bad guy to play with, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good match. He's matched with a quality point guard. I'd rather play with Chris Paul than James Harden, personally. I mean, that's just me. I don't want to play James Harden. I don't think anybody wants to play with James Harden.
Why? Yeah, because they're just looking for their own shots. Yeah, like if you're playing with Chris Dunn and Chris Paul, and that's not a bad. You're right. That's not a bad group to play with. You may get more shots out of that than you would in the starting lineup. It's just
The only fear is when that idiot Bradley Beal comes back, is he's stuck playing with him in the second unit too, probably. But whatever, Bradley Beal will probably be injured, 2/3 of the year. So anyway, let's talk about this last thing. So I saw that Kevin Pelton predicted, a writer for ESPN, predicted that the Jazz would start the season 2 wins and 23 losses. Now, everybody that knows anything about the Utah Jazz knows what a huge advantage they have at home. It's a massive advantage. So for the Jazz, I don't care who they're playing. I don't care what their schedule looks like. I haven't looked at their first 25 games of the year. And apparently they're playing a bunch of good teams. That's the only thing I can gather from this. But I don't care who it is. The Jazz have a huge home court advantage. Jazz and Denver, Nuggets, those are the 2 teams because of that elevation. So to start the year 2-23, the Jazz would have to be trying to tank again. That's the only way they start 2-23. And we've heard what Austin has said. They're not going to try and tank games this year. So there's no way, in my opinion, that the Utah Jazz this season start 2-23. I think that is absolutely a ridiculous prediction, and it could only come from some completely ignorant person at ESPN.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had no idea that he made that prediction. He also did his projections for the Western Conference, and he had Golden State as the second best team. And honestly, I don't see that. In part because I don't think they're going to stay healthy all season. I mean, do you think that Jimmy Butler and Steph
at
their age?
Really
I'm
old.
sorry, they're
really
not.
Old. Yeah.
They're not. So and I don't think even if they're healthy that Steve Kerr's going to play them in some games. I think he's going to let him take off because he knows all you really have to do is get into the playoffs. And if you're hot at that time, Golden State's shown they can win on the road. I mean, with Steph Curry and the way he shoots, he can go in anywhere and win the game. So I don't think he's focused on getting the best record, but that prediction makes no sense to me at all. But the 2-23, I'll tell you, the Jazz are going to struggle this year. Let's just be brutally honest about it. They got young players, are going to make some mistakes. I still see them in the first 25 games winning 6 to 7 games. Why? Because they got some talent on the team.
Yeah.
If you look at the rankings of the young players in the NBA, none of them are the Jazz players. We know that those rankings are wrong. Walker is an excellent basketball player, right now. Lauri is an excellent basketball player. But some of these young guys like Ace and Walt and Sensabaugh has come around completely. They can play. Filipowski can play. And so they're going to surprise some teams this year. So my prediction would be out of the first 25, they win to 6 to 7 games. I don't think there's any way 2 is the and I'm the same way. I have no idea who's on their schedule. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant
because this is the NBA.
Yep, it's completely irrelevant who's on their schedule. They're not going to start 2-23, and that's all there is to it. I could care less who's on their schedule. I haven't looked at it, but they're not going to start 2-23. Guarantee that. It's an absurd prediction. Quite frankly, I didn't see the prediction. I saw Locke say this. So I assume that Locke is right, but you can never tell with Locke too. So I'm assuming that he's telling the truth. But I didn't check it myself.
Yeah. Why don't we, for one of our next podcasts, go into our predictions for Lauri Markkanen being traded or not versus what David has said that his sense is. And David may be parroting what the Utah Jazz want him to say. We don't know. He's an employee of the Utah Jazz. But, it's something we can put it off to a future podcast. But I am very curious on views of what you feel the percentages are that Lauri gets traded. And we're not, when I'm saying that, we like Lauri Markkanen, right? We like Markkanen. We like that he likes Utah. We think he's a good guy. We think he's a great player. But, I am curious. Let's bring that up. Maybe we talk about it next time. It's what our analysis is. And then at the end of the season, we can look and see who's right. Is David right? And I'm guessing where you're going to come out, and I know where I'm going to come out. We're right. And it'll be interesting. I'm curious of your views, but let's put that off to our next podcast.
Yeah. One last thing before we close it out. I watched Kyle try and move his feet on defense tonight. And I thought he did an admirable job. I mean, he's clearly putting a ton of effort into that. And so I look for that because I know Kyle stressed that during Summer League when he was interviewed saying, I can't be a liability on defense. That's what he said. And I think he's making that effort. And I think that's terrific because I have high hopes for Kyle. And clearly, I mean, Walker said after the game, there's been tons, like all the other players, there's just been, it's the sole focus thus far in training camp really is on the defensive end. So clearly, I think Kyle can improve this year over his rookie year, and I look for that because I want Kyle to be a piece of the Utah Jazz moving forward.
I do too. You know, I like Kyle a lot. What I felt like in the first 2 games he's played, he's looked very uncomfortable on his three-point shot. And then once he's put up, he's missed badly. Like, you know, he hit one last game. This game, there was a few that just were not anywhere close. And so maybe he's focusing a lot on defense, but, you know, the comfort we saw in him in Summer League, where those things were just going up, and you thought every time they went up, they're going in. So far in these first 2 games, he just looked uncomfortable. And I can't really explain it. You know, maybe he hasn't played all preseason. That's the reason, but I just felt he's looked awkward on offense.
Yeah, I agree with that. He looks rusty. So, you know, I think that's going to change. I think he's going to get playing time and it'll smooth out. So we'll see. And anyway, all right, we're going to call it quits for tonight. For those watching on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. You can also follow us on X at Jazz Smack, and we will talk to everybody later.